Okay, going live. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm the host for today. My name is Shadrach, and today we have two special guests from the From Free. Please, if you're new and you're watching, please subscribe to our channel. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. If you're on the live, make sure you share the live and bring your friends into this conversation. So I'll go ahead and introduce the new um, guests that we have today. As I said, they're for the From Free. You can check them out on the Apple and Spotify podcast. I'm really grateful, because they gave me the first opportunity, to speak about football. They're the first ones that I started my podcast with. So, I'm really grateful that they're here today. So I'm going to introduce Big Bro. No, he's the host. It's my big bro. And welcome with Big Bro, man. Welcome.
Nah, thank you for having me on this platform, man. Can't wait to chop it up today, man. It's going to be a live one today.
Indeed. Pleasure. I'll go introduce Andrew, aka AJ. How you doing, bro?
Yes, my guy. Thank you, man, for having us on. It's a pleasure. And of course, like Big Will said, we're gonna get, we're gonna get stuck in. So I'm ready.
Indeed. And obviously, unfortunately, Coach couldn't make it today, but so we move on. The topic today will be Super League. We've been hearing about the Super League throughout the whole week. It's a hot topic. So before we go ahead and talk about it, I'm going to read some of the proposals that the Super League have put in place. So there will be 20 teams competing every year. So that's the aim, to have 20 teams competing every year. They have 12 teams currently as founders, members, and the 12 teams are Arsenal, United, Man City, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Liverpool. And then that's from England. From Spain, we have Atletico, Barcelona, and Real Madrid. That's 9. And from Italy, we have Juventus, Inter, and AC Milan. That's 12. So these 12 are the foundation, they are the founding members of the Super League. Yeah, going on to the next one. And this is where I think a lot of people get confused on the rules. So 15 teams will be guaranteed to compete every season. So at the moment we have 12. So they're looking for 3 more teams to join. And when they find the 15 teams, these 15 teams will be guaranteed to join this Super League every single year. The fixtures will be played during the midweek, as the Champions League and Europa League. So they will be playing during the midweek. 5 further clubs to qualify based on domestic performance. So 5 teams will, after the 15, there'll be 5 teams that will qualify into the Super League based on their performance. And this team can actually get relegated. So these are the only teams that can be going up or down, but the other 15, they'll be there for every year. And lastly, the tournament will start in August, and there will be 2 groups of 10. So I'll go ahead and ask Big Bro Will, what were your thoughts about Super Leagues?
Where do I start, man? I mean, I think the first thing to say is that the fact that the Super League has been proposed is not a surprise, because if you listen to someone like Arsene Wenger, if you listen to his interviews over the past like 10, 15 years, he's someone who predicted that this would happen. So the fact that it's, being proposed is not a surprise. But what genuinely just surprises me is the fact that these owners haven't come out and given a press conference or given us the A to Z in terms of what the Super League is about, why it's come about. We've now heard a few things from Florentino Perez, and a few things from even Gazidis of AC Milan, but we really haven't heard from the owners of Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, Barcelona, a few of the Italian clubs as well. And so I think the way these owners, they've come out with this plan, but they're not even backing it themselves in terms of explaining to the fans, explaining to the people why they want this and why they think this is a solution to football's financial problems. And another thing which strikes me about this is that the owners, it seems, haven't even consulted the managers. They haven't even consulted the players as well. It's almost as if, you know, players, you go out on the pitch, play. That's all the job that you have to do for us. And so, to be honest, I'm really shocked. I know there's more to say about this, but
definitely.
There for now, yeah.
AJ, thoughts?
It's a madness. It's actually a madness. But you know, like Will rightly said, you know, I think if you listen to Wenger I think recently as up to like 2019, he had an interview and he said, you know, there will be a Super League, you know, and you won't be able to kind of stop it. You know, we've heard, you know, over the years, you know, little whispers, talks have been on and then off and on and then off, and then, you know, everyone wakes up. What was it? The day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? Sunday, I think it was, and it was a bombshell. Like, whoosh! Yeah. Like, here we go, Super League's happening, and like Will said, you know, it sounds as if players, managers, fans don't have a say. It's the owners who have gone off, you know, and made this decision, and it kind of shocks everyone, because you're like, right, what? So then, where do we stand as fans, as players, as managers? You know, what authority do we have? Do we have a say? And it seems as if you don't. You know, Klopp came out, condemned it. He's been condemning it even when he was at Dortmund, and he's like, you know, boom, that I still oppose it. You know, players have come out and spoken extensively on their social medias about it. You know, saying that they're against it. But then it seems as if the plan is a go. It's been greenlit. So it's mad for me. It's mad. It's mad.
You know, just to add, English club that have left the ECA, so that means they are out of Champions League and Europa League. So as we stand, the only team that would be in the Champions League would be PSG. So that's why the semi-finals being suspended, because all this 6 club from England and Real Madrid, Juventus, everyone has left the ECA, so that means they won't be able to play in the Champions League or Europa League. So what I wanted to ask to Will is, from a manager's perspective. So let's say you just woke up in the morning, you're hearing all this news here. How would you feel like? How would you approach the situation?
So I think for a long time now, the relationship between managers and owners have, you know, the chasm has got even wider now, especially because most of these owners are foreign owners. If you go back to when, you know, football started, football was very much a community sport. It's about the community, about the fans. The owner himself was a supporter of the club himself. But nowadays, you know, managers and owners, a manager, say Jurgen Klopp, he's there, he's at the training ground in Liverpool, whereas the owner, they're in Boston, in another country. So you know, already the relationship really isn't there on a, you know, day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis. So as a manager, completely blindsided. I just feel completely blindsided. As a manager, you are, I mean, the owner is, but the manager more or less is the figurehead at a football club. And the fact that the owner hasn't even taken the time or even considered you in his decision, I think is a slap in the face, if I'm being honest.
AJ, as a player, waking up in the morning, or you're going on social media, everyone is tweeting about it, you go on Instagram, everyone is talking about it. How would you feel as a player? Like, what would you do?
I think, you know, you're number one, you're going to be thinking, what is happening, you know? And then as a player, immediately, you know, if you've got an agent, you're speaking to your agent and saying, you know, have the club said anything? What have you heard about this? You know, I'm sure the group chats are going crazy, you know, because it came out of nowhere, you know. We've, like I mentioned earlier, you know, we've heard that there were talks about it, you know, like last year, the year before, but imagine, waking up, I'd be like, whoa, it's a lot. And of course, you've got to go into training. You've got to go into training. So, you have so many questions, and I'm sure a lot of agents would have had loads of calls and messages. And of course, players these days, most of the players in the program, they know each other. So I'm sure questions were asked with each other like, what do you think this will mean for us? What do you think it will mean for our wages? What happens for us internationally? Because there's talk of, if you're a part of this, you won't play for your country again, which is mad because for a lot of players, growing up as a kid, your dream is to play for your country. And then now that's been taken away from you from a decision that you didn't take
No,
part in.
it's true.
And then for all those players who worked so hard to get into the last stage of the Champions League, being told that, you're going to be expelled and from the Europa, it's kind of like, well, hold on a second. I want to win the big trophy, such as the Champions League, such as, Europa League for those who deemed it as a big cup and stuff like that, And all of a sudden, you have no say, but you have no control, and you've been like pushed into a corner to make you look like a bad guy. So, for a player, it's overwhelming. It's a lot to deal with, No,
it's true. From the last chat we had on Sunday, up till now, obviously they've released new information, so many new things. So from my perspective, the way I look at it is like the Super League was placed to replace Champions League. So their only problem was, to take out Champions League and put the Super League into place. If you look at the Super League proposal, they still want the team to play the domestic leagues and whatever. They still want that to be in place. They still want the players to be able to play for the national teams, for the FIFA World Cups, Euros. So, if the players were allowed to play for the National League and the teams were allowed to play in the domestic league, would you still would you change your mind about the Super League or no?
I don't think I would, just because a lot of these players, they grew up with grassroots football, or they know people in grassroots football. And the main thing about this Super League is that it's a closed off league. So they're going to try and invite some teams here and there, but essentially we're talking about, the quote unquote biggest teams in Europe, however you want to define it. And so, yes, whether they sort of don't ban football players from, FIFA World Cups or the Champions League or whatnot, I think I still would be against it, just because we really have to think about the future of the game, which is, our grassroots. So no, I don't think it would change my stance on it.
AJ, thoughts?
Literally the same as Big Will. Like, for me, it's as simple as that. It's essentially, football isn't just about the so-called big clubs. Football is about the community. Football is about the grassroots. Football is about that young kid that wants to end up playing for his team and playing against some of the best teams in the world, or playing against, someone like, Aston Villa, Everton, Chelsea, Arsenal. That's what football is about. Football, for every young person, everyone listening who is a fan of football, as a child, you've always had dreams or aspirations for playing for your team and playing in the best competitions and stuff like that. And I feel like with the introduction of the Super League, and if it does go ahead, football is in danger of completely falling off. And football won't be what it's meant to be ever again. So for me, whether they allow them to or not, I think that Super League will ruin football, 100%.
Me personally, now I'm gonna chime in and give my opinion. Me personally, I wouldn't mind the Super League being placed and replace the Champions League if the teams were still allowed to play in the domestic league and the players were still allowed to play in the World Cups and in the Euros. The reason why I say that is because the level of attraction will be even bigger than the Champions League, because you're gonna get every big game every midweek. You know what I'm saying? Instead of you getting Barcelona against Dynamo of Kiev, you're gonna get Barcelona against Juventus. Next week there'll be City against Atletico. So every week you got something to look forward to, instead of waiting for the last 16, instead of waiting for the quarterfinals, semi-finals. Every week you got something to look up to. And then it could be a thing where it could be a Clasico in a weekend, and 2-3 days after you got Man City, United. So within 6 days, you got 2 big games that you're looking forward to. So me personally, I wouldn't mind, but only if, as I said, the teams will still play in the domestic league and the players will still play in the national league. Yeah. So
I hear that, yeah, but
you're gone.
I hear that, yeah. But my argument to that would be, I said I wouldn't come on here and but
Go on.
my argument to that would be, but think about the fans of Dynamo Kiev. Fans who want to see their team play against the best. Fans, and it's not. And what we need to deep here is, guys, look, these teams who play, let's say Dynamo Kiev against Barcelona, it's not like Dynamo Kiev got given a bye and they got to play Barcelona in the Champions League. They've worked hard to get to where they are. So here, this Super League basically discrediting all these so-called lesser teams, if we want to call them that, and not giving them a chance. Because as you mentioned earlier, there'll only be 5 spaces available to qualify for the Super League, and that's across all of Europe. How is that fair?
No, it's 50-50, because the way I'm looking at it,
man.
No, the way I'm looking at it, yeah, I want the best I've seen. Like I want to see the best against the best. I do feel sorry for teams like obviously the Dynamo Kiev and Celtics, the Rangers, teams like that would be even harder for them to beat in that Super League. But I feel like the Super League is open. It's only the 15 teams that cannot be relegated, but those 5 spots are open. So, and it's not even European competition. No, I don't think it's European. I think it's like, I think they call it Super League because I can see, teams like Santos from Brazil coming through.
Yeah, but
teams from around the world coming through. So it will be more
what is the
entertaining.
likelihood? What's the likelihood of that happening? It's slim. It's slim, and that's the truth of the matter. Of course,
but that brings
no one's gonna sit here and
nature will be even higher for you to get into that.
No, because look, no one. Let's call a spade, yeah. As Mourinho said, bread is bread and cheese is cheese. Look, no one is gonna sit here and say, I don't want to see the best teams play against each other. Of course you do, because you want to see the best players in the world play against each other.
Indeed.
But I think the beauty of the Champions League and having to wait till the last 16 is that it builds your appetite for those games. Whether or not you're watching Barca beat Ludogorets 7-1, you'll still enjoy it because it's building, because okay, so Barca beat them, group stage, blah, 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 and we know that now Barca are going to go face the big fish. Now we have a Super League where all the big fish are going to just be meeting each other week in and week out. Of course, in the intern, look, I believe if it goes ahead, for the first couple of months, exciting, it's lit. But slowly and surely, bro, it's going to lose its appeal, because remember this, if these clubs are still allowed, like you were saying, if they will be allowed to play in their own leagues, bro, how many times a week or how many times a month will I want to see Liverpool versus Chelsea or Manchester United versus Man City?
But you're only going to play each other twice. It's like a league. It's not like every weekend or every week you're going to be playing against each other. It's not like that.
Of course.
It's going to be like that throughout the year.
Yeah, go on. But deep it, already in the calendar, you play each other twice home and away in the Prem. Yeah, there's a likelihood you could play against each other in the Carabao Cup. I'm talking about the Prem, by the way. There's a likelihood you could play each other in the FA Cup. So already, there's four, all right? 2 are guaranteed. And then, of course, if in the Super League, it's guaranteed. Now, imagine if you're in the same group, you'll play 2 matches against each other again. And what about if you both qualify? You'll probably meet each other down the line somehow, some way. I'm sure. So it's
my issue is that I know, like, people, and you've said yourself, Zeno, that you want to see the best against the best, but I think it's come at a time where if you look at the teams that are proposed to be in this Super League, clubs like Arsenal, Tottenham, Barcelona, Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan, some of these clubs haven't really done well in Europe in the last few years. I mean, if you look at Arsenal, when was the last time they was in the Champions League? Tottenham as well. Yes, they made the final, but they got crashed out in the Europa League to Zagreb. Manchester United are not even in the Champions League. They got knocked out in the group stage. So I know we're saying we're going to see the best against the best, but I mean, how many of these clubs are actually really that good? If we look at them on paper, how many of these clubs are actually, I mean, take the club and the historic factor out of it. As teams right now in Europe, this so-called Super League, how many of them are quote unquote super?
No, yeah. If you're going by team, some of these teams some of the clubs that are in it, they should be out of it if you're just going by the team wise. But if you're going by the club history, you know, some of them deserve to beat them. Maybe not the Spurs. The only team that I'll question would be Spurs. But everyone else has but I'm only talking about like the club history, you know. All 11 deserve to be in it. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like what they've done for the game, the club, the trophies they won, they do deserve to be in it. But as Will said, when it comes to teams, yeah, only maybe 3, 4 really deserve to be in it. But I don't think that was the criteria. I don't think the criteria was if you have a world-class team, then I think it's more like the history of the game, what you've done. So
I can't believe Tottenham are in there. I can't believe Tottenham are in there.
I'm only surprised that team like Ajax. Yeah, go on.
Ajax. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If we're talking about history, then you know Ajax needs to be in there. Rangers and Celtic deserve to be in there. I could name teams off the top. Yeah. There's loads of teams that deserve to be there.
Isn't it interesting that the two sort of future stars of football, Erling Haaland and Mbappe, obviously we know
won't even be involved.
Yeah. So
listen, them two will be bought. Look, if Dortmund and PSG are stubborn and won't join, yeah, Haaland and Mbappe will be bought 100%. There is no way you have a Super League and not have Mbappe and Haaland in it. It's not going to happen.
But if you look at it on the flip side of things, though, because look, it's very interesting because right now players are speaking out against it. And from what we've read and what we know, the money that these clubs will get in the Super League is astronomical figures. We're talking billions, yeah? Cool. So now these teams will have the money to buy Haaland and Mbappe. Of course. But then you've got to remember, PSG also have money. PSG don't have to accept that money for Mbappe. Haaland, Dortmund, it's a different story. But then for Haaland and Mbappe, you know, they'll have they have questions to answer, you know, especially if it goes ahead. Because look, if it goes ahead, there will be a revolt from certain players, 100%, you know, and we know that. But then I believe there are certain players in there who will want it to go ahead. So it'll be very interesting to see how things develop. It'll be very, very interesting, especially on the player side of things. Because
think about it, AJ, you got players who, you know, maybe not in their prime, but, you know, decently in their prime. They go off to China to earn mega bucks. So, you know, in the Super League, if the wages are calling for you, you're not going to turn it down.
As they say, your football career is short. You know, some people, you know, you need that quick buck. You need to secure your future. So some players will look at it. But then for the younger players, you know, it's kind of like, really, is this something I really want to be a part of? There's so many questions.
All of us grew up watching the Champions League. I mean, whenever you hear the anthem, the hairs on the back of your neck just always stand up. I mean,
listen,
that's true.
People came up with the Champions League. Like I started watching the Champions League in 1996, you know, so it's something that I just don't want to see, you know, I don't want to not see the biggest clubs, the biggest.
Let's talk about the Champions League, because the Super League is there to replace it. They wanted to replace it. So let's be honest to ourselves here. Has the quality of the Champions League gone down? Well, be honest. I know you don't want the Super League to come in place, but the reason why they're doing it is because I think Perez was saying that you know, they're not getting enough money anymore. The viewers has gone down. All that's down to the Champions League. So I'm asking if the quality of the Champions League has gone down, obviously prior to this year.
Yeah, because if you talk about this year, I mean, I think this year has been one of the more exciting Champions League seasons in a while. And I mean, last year it's hard to kind of rank that because of COVID. It's a difficult question because I think it's gone around in cycles, to be honest. I mean, the early 2000s weren't great, but then the like 2010s to the 2015s was really good. And then there's a little dip. So I think it's gone in roundabouts. It's a difficult, I don't think, I mean, right now, I think the quality is there. So if we're talking about the present times and modern day Champions League, I think it's very exciting. And in fact, the new proposals that UEFA are coming out with this sort of Swiss style Champions League with 36 teams and big league.
No way. You like it?
I'm not on board with it.
Okay. AJ, has the quality of the Champions League gone down?
Let me answer that question in a different way. has the quality in the leagues around the world gone down?
Yeah.
And there we have our answer. Because look, I can easily say for the past nearly a decade, the Italian league has been terrible. Let's just be honest. It's been terrible. All right. It's only recently that there's a resurgence. I know this one will burn you. It's only recent there's been a resurgence. Yeah. And we're seeing that now. You know, this season has been Italian football's probably best season. If we're talking honestly.
It's so exciting.
You look at the
one of the most
exciting now.
Yeah.
The German league has been poor for a very long time as well. It's not recently in the last few years where it's picked up again. Okay, so the Premier League has been up and down. You know, since Leicester won the league, the quality's probably got a little bit better. But again, it's up and down. You look at the Spanish league, it's just been Real and Barca, really. All the other teams. It's not unless from this season and last season that we've seen the quality increase. Sorry, go on, Will.
I think the quality of the La Liga now in the last few years is the worst it's been since, like, I think
definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. But in the 2005, 06, 07, 08, La Liga was on a different level. Yeah. So we're looking through all these leagues, yeah, and the quality of the leagues isn't as great. So how can the Champions League quality be great? But one thing I would like to mention is, even though the leagues haven't been great, the Champions League, the quality has been good. It's been good. It's never been poor. It's been good. Can it be better? Of course it can. But that doesn't lay at the feet of the champion. It lays at the leagues. It lays at, you know, the teams, the managers, the money that's in the league, and so much more. So for me, you know, the Champions League is the elite competition. That's just the bottom line, you know. Whether we like it or not, no matter how bad PSG are in Liga or the Farmers League, as many people like to call it, when they come into the Champions League, they turn it on. Bottom line, do you get me? You know, so Real Madrid, for example, we've seen how poor they've been all season in Liga, but in the Champions League, they've been a different kind of beast. So the Champions League, you know, I would say that the standard of the Champions League has been, but I think it's been good. I think it can be a lot better, 100%. But the onus is on the leagues to improve themselves. You know, improve the squads, improve the players, the coaches that they attract, and so much more. Do I agree with the new Champions League format? No chance.
Okay.
No chance.
What I would say in, like, to answer the question, the Champions League hasn't been great, and I blame the lack of stardom in the players. I don't think we have so many world-class players anymore in teams. They're all like okay players. They could get to that level. The only thing that, you know, the trajectory where the players are going in terms of, like, you look at it, Gnabry, Sane, Sancho, all this Foden, all these players are going into the right way. So maybe in the next 3 to 5 years,
I think
the Champions League will get to that place. But right now, if we were to count how many world-class players are in the world, you're looking at 5 to 7.
I think
there's not many
we had
world-class
a era of
players.
Zidane, Figo, Ronaldo.
You know what I'm saying?
You know, you can name them all.
You know what I'm saying? And that was like every team had like at least 4, 5 world-class players per team. Now we got 1 or 2 per team, or 1. You know what I'm saying? Reason why that's why the quality has gone down. Let's go back to, you know, the Super League. The Premier League, I think Gary Neville said, if it were to happen, or if it wasn't going to happen, Gary Neville said that these 6 teams should be deducted point. There should be, some of them said they should be relegated. Some people are saying that right now, Man City should be deducted point. What are your views? What would you do if you were in charge of the Premier League? How would you punish these 6 teams? Well,
go on, Will.
I think it's a tricky one for the Premier League because, yes, on the one hand, I mean, these owners have really snaked the Premier League, if we're being honest. However, if we're talking about on the pitch, the managers, the players, and especially the fans, I don't think they would be deserving if their team got deducted points, in my opinion, because I think that'd be extremely harsh. I know, you know, this is very visceral, and we're very passionate about these things, and we come out and say, this team, this person should be docked, this and that and that. But I think we need to, the fact that, these managers and players have come out and said no one's spoken to them about this whole thing, they're not to blame. So I think it'll be very, very harsh to deduct teams' points for being part.
AJ, before you go, well, don't you think the Premier League at the moment, I feel like they are not in a winnable situation. So what I mean, if the 6 teams were to go, the quality of the Premier League will go down straight. If the 16 were not to go and the Premier League were to punish them, saying, or let's say probably they get relegated or they do get their points or titles stripped, won't that still affect the quality of the Premier League?
It's a tricky one. I mean, it's a catch-22 for the Premier League, I think. But I do think this may cause the Premier League to sort of maybe rethink its model. It's funny because 10 years ago, they'll just talk of having a Premier League 1, a Premier League 2, and even inviting Celtic and Rangers to come into the Premier League. Yeah, I think this might be a basis for the Premier League to maybe rethink its model, financial model, and even the league model itself. So, I mean, it's a sticky one. I don't know, man. It's a tricky one to answer.
AJ, preach.
I mean, you wouldn't want to be the head of the Premier League right now, would you? Because, look, let's get 2 things straight in it. Number one, Gary Neville, he was just upset, saying that these big 6 clubs should be relegated. Have you lost your mind? Do you know what that would do to the Premier League itself?
You know what I'm saying?
you might as well let them go to the Super League, because it would absolutely ruin the Premier League, because we've got to think about this economically. What those 6 teams bring. Spurs not as much as the other 5, yeah? No disrespect to Spurs fans. Actually, big disrespect to Spurs fans. But anyway, what those clubs bring financially to the Premier League in terms of TV rights, in terms of the global mass appeal, the shirt sales, the viewers, yeah? I don't think money can actually even come close to kind of explaining what those clubs bring to the Premier League. So for Gary Neville to say, they should be relegated points, it's harsh, because number one, like we mentioned, the players and managers didn't know anything about this. And those are the guys whose blood, sweat, tears, and hard graft has positioned them where they are in the league. A team like Man City, for example, we've seen how phenomenal they've been. Do you think any of the players, with the way they've been playing, would have time to go and be speaking to Perez and those guys there to say we want to be in a Super League? They wouldn't, So for that kind of punishment is really unfair. If they are going to put out any punishment, it needs to go directly to the owners, because it's clearly the owners who have been engaging in these talks. Now, how they reprimand the owners without it affecting the team, the fans, and what they do on the pitch, that's a difficult one, and it's a sticky one. But talk of getting rid of these top 6 teams as they are, it's nonsense, because the Premier League wouldn't survive without them. So maybe the model of the Prem needs to be relooked at, and how much money they distribute in the Prem needs to be looked at, and also more incentives to this big 6, because they've earned the history, they've earned how they are marketed globally, and they've earned their right to be classed as the big 6 or the big 5 or big 4, whatever you want to call it. So in terms of punishment, of course, I believe something needs to be done, but how it's done and who it's done to, that one is a tight one, man.
Okay, so we move to, obviously we just spoke about Premier League and their punishment. If you were UEFA and the Super League were not to happen, how would you then punish these 12 clubs? Because I don't know whether you could just re-invite them back to the Champions League and Europa League, or again, if you were to punish them and say you cannot play Europa League and Champions League for the next 5 years, again, UEFA, nobody will really watch the Champions League, because you will only have Bayern, PSG, and Dortmund competing. So again, if you were UEFA, what would you do, or how would you punish them?
I think right now, there's actually talk that UEFA are trying to get extra financing, and I think what I'm hearing is that they want to sort of propose a new Champions League with a new financial model to these Super League clubs. And so I think they're going to go down that route. In terms of whether or not they'll ban them, I think for UEFA, in order for them not to look incredibly weak, I mean, it'll be incredibly weak for them to come out and say all that they've said, and at the same time, just, you know, invite these leagues to carry on playing in the UEFA Champions League, Europa League. I think what would probably happen is that these clubs might be banned from Champions League for like a year or two. I mean, all European competition for a year or two, and then they'll invite them back. UEFA might just swallow the loss in terms of the attractive nature of the Champions League in order to put their point across. But I think eventually they'll invite them back in if, say, the Super League thing doesn't go through.
AJ.
Yeah, I think, of course, with all that UEFA have come out, the strong condemning of the Super League and these clubs, you know, I think they'll take a hit and banning the clubs for probably a year. But, you know, if you're thinking longevity-wise, yeah, banning them for a year, but securing them for the next, I don't know, what, 10, 15, 20 years, it's a minor loss. It's a minor L. But they have to put their foot down, and I'm sure that they will, you know. But then also, them putting their foot down with what we were saying, you know, they'll also negotiate to secure the future of those big clubs, you know, financially as well in the Champions League for the next, you know, decade or you know, whatever they want to do, which would be the smart way to play it, to be fair.
It is, but you know, it's hard. Like, how can you? I cannot see the Champions League going on without this 12 clubs. Like, like you would have teams like Southampton, Everton, Leicester, West Ham. Like, it would just be. You can't call it Champions League. If that makes sense, having all these okay teams in there, but we'll see. But let's move into FIFA. You know, FIFA said, you know, if the players were to take part in the Super League, they will be banned from playing the World Cup and Euros. Do you think that's the right approach, or do you think that's over punishing the players?
I think it's completely wrong, to be honest. I mean, the mere fact that we've got managers and players saying that they weren't consulted, how can you then at the same time say players, if they play for these teams, remember, these clubs are contracted to these players, are contracted to these clubs. So they don't really, I mean, they can say, okay, we don't want to play for the club, but some of them, someone like Marcus Rashford, for example, who he spends it on himself, but he uses a lot of his income to help communities, for example. And so for him, it's going to be difficult for him to, you know, not play for the club who's paying for him. But I think overall, the main point here is just that you cannot penalize players who work under club owners who make decisions without their consultation. I mean, players, in my opinion, deserve to play should be allowed to play, in these World Cup competitions, because, to be honest, players really didn't have a say in all this.
AJ.
I mean, yeah, you know, how can you ban someone from playing for the country when they didn't make the decision to be placed where they are, because the decision was made from someone who's completely way above them. And the craziest thing about all of this is most players don't even ever meet the owner of their football club.
That's true.
And then
even when they sign their pro, they don't meet them.
Honestly, the most you meet is probably the assistant director or the director of football, if your club has one. So it's crazy to ban a player who actually knew nothing about it from playing for his country. And like we said, a lot of international players, because of how well they're paid at club level, they use whatever they get from the internationals to help charities, orphanages, and so forth. So then you're taking away that right and privilege as well. Look, I think FIFA felt like they had to come out and do something and be strong and stern. And they just said that without actually thinking of, you know, the ins and outs of what's actually happened and who is actually at the forefront of this, honestly.
Yeah,
just think about
I
it.
agree.
We watched the World Cup to watch the best players in the world, so you can't really say you're going to ban the best players. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think Sky Sports put their teams without obviously the players that are going to go to the Super League, and the players remaining is the quality. Like, if that were to happen, especially like obviously we got a tournament this summer, the Euros. If that were to happen, the quality would drop down so badly. I don't think people will even watch it because you're looking at the England side. Can you imagine England going to the Euros without Harry Kane, without Sterling, Foden? You're just gonna be like Ollie Watkin will be your striker. You're looking at Bamford to be your striker, or all these okay players like not really world class like Harry Kane. But obviously now we just talked about the negative of the Super Leagues. Yeah, let's try and talk about the positive. So if you were an owner of the 12, the Big 12, well, what do you think? Yeah, is the motive? Why do you think they've done it? Like, what's the purpose? Obviously, apart from money, power, and whatever, why do you think these 12 big clubs have decided, let's form our own league. Let's form our own. I think Gary Neville called it a monopoly.
Monopolies, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think? Like, what's the motive behind it?
I think there's two ways to look at it. I think Florentino Perez, the owner, not owner, but the guy basically in charge of Real Madrid.
In charge, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's always had this idea of creating a Super League. And I think his motivation, he comes out with stuff like, young people aren't connected to the game. Maybe we'll try and shorten the 90 minutes because whatever. I think from his side of it, I think it's purely financial. In terms of the other owners, we know quite a few of them are American. And they see how big television contracts can be, especially if you're talking about the NFL and the NBA. But with football is a global sport. It is the sport in the world. And there's so much untapped potential, especially in China, the Far East, and especially in America in terms of football. So I think they see this Super League as, the biggest sporting league in, the history of sports. So I think that's their motivation. Well, that's what I think, is to make as much money and to make, the biggest spectacle in the world that will even surpass even things like the World Cup, for example.
AJ, thoughts?
I mean, you look at Perez, guys, are you even surprised? This is a guy who, invented the Galacticos, wanted to sign the biggest, best players for the craziest money. This is right down his avenue. He probably dreamed of this as he was a boy. Like, he just seems so money motivated. It's crazy. The bottom line of it is just about money and power. It's about money and power. He said, young boys are not lacking football. That's a lie. Because you come through England, you see all those young boys who are out on a Saturday morning, out on a Sunday morning, grassroots football, all wanting to be a professional footballer. Yeah, he hasn't done that. He doesn't know that. It's just tongue in cheek from him. There are young people. People are still watching football. There are still a million young boys in academies trying to be a pro. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So the level of what football. Look, of course, financially, COVID has had a huge impact on a lot of clubs. But the bottom line of this is a lot of clubs, even before COVID, were in debt. So this is also a get out for a lot of them. The money that they're being offered is not no small chicken change. And you'd be a liar to sit here and say, oh, you wouldn't think twice about that. We're talking billions. We're not talking a couple grand or a couple million. We're talking billions. So for these clubs, financially, it makes so much sense. And but it's at the detriment of football in the long term. And so for me, it's just about money and power and being able to wrestle some advantage away from, TV rights and all those things there. And like I said, this is a Perez thing. When he started the Galacticos, his view was, let me buy all the best players, no matter how much they cost, and have them put on a spectacle every week they step out. And we all saw how well that went. Do you know what I'm saying? It didn't really go that well. Do you know what I'm saying? But,
that's one of the reasons why he bought David Beckham wasn't necessarily because he was going to be that great for Real Madrid. It's because of the financial aspect of the fact that he could catapult Madrid even into a greater stratosphere by having a global superstar.
Global star,
yeah. On the pitch, it didn't work like that though. Off the pitch, maybe financially.
Off the pitch, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is another case of it. Off the pitch, maybe.
Let's all try. Let's all try and think. As owners, like obviously all these big clubs that have been in the Champions League. forever. It seems like. Obviously, unfortunately, they don't get all the money when they go to the finals. When they win it, they always have to split this. Or they're gonna get 30%, 40%. So they're thinking, oh, okay, if you always have to give this amount, why don't we do our own? It's like boxing. If Fury fights an okay boxer, the money will be, the money will go here, the money will go there, TV there. So if the big boxers decide to leave boxing and do their own thing, so like Fury, AJ, Wilder, if they all leave heavyweight boxing and decide to do their own thing, is that really bad? It seems selfish, yes, but at the same time, they're the reason why Champions League is so big. So, but obviously, they're the reason why Champions League is so big, but they don't get enough money. You know what I'm saying? So, is it right? Like from their perspective, not from ours. So, trying to think as a general manager, like from their perspective, do you think it's right to leave the Champions League and fill out their own pocket?
I think the problem is because these owners, the ownership model has changed so much. Like I was saying at the beginning of the program, that in the beginning, owners, they mix with the fans, they mix with the players. They were at the training ground. I was speaking to managers. They're very much part of the club, not just in some office in America or some office in Paris or whatnot. So I think because ownership has changed so much, most of these owners are just thinking about profits. Yes, I completely understand the whole aspect of, we're not getting enough money. Let's go off and do our own thing. But think about it. Even if you're a businessman or that's making lots of profit, you're going to get taxed. You can't always make so much money without expecting there to be some sort of outgoing. So yes, I understand their thinking in terms of, actually, if we do this thing ourselves, we're going to make more money. However, at the same time, you're disregarding the sport, you're disregarding fans, you're disregarding the players as well. So there's always an opportunity.
But don't you think fans were always going to? That's what I don't get. Like people always trying to think, oh, the fans are not going to support it, they're not going to watch it. Once it starts, well, I'm telling you, whether the Premier League will still be the Premier League or whatever, yeah. Once the Super League starts, every fan who loves football and the team is in it, you cannot tell me you're not going to watch it and you're going to watch another show. If your team is playing on a Tuesday night against Barcelona, you're going to sit down and watch the game.
You're right. Most fans would probably do so, but I think in saying that, I think we're maybe underestimating how fans would really react to this if it really went through. Because I'm fascinated to see, once the COVID restrictions continue to ease up, once you get more fans in the stadium, etc., and the protests are going to be something that we've never seen when it comes to football in our lifetime.
AJ.
Look, the thing is, the owners of these clubs these days, yeah, are not lovers of football. Let's just be honest. They're just businessmen. And so, but in the way money works in this world, yeah, you'll always be taxed in some way, shape, or form, no matter how much you earn. So these guys have hatched a plan, which is we wanna get as much money for ourselves as much as we can. But I always say this: with money, there's always negotiation. So the top six, even in the Prem, they can go to the Premier League and negotiate something. In the same way UEFA right now is negotiating a new incentive of finance for these Super 12 or whatever we want to call them. There's always room for negotiation. For me, as a businessman, of course, you want to maximize your profit. You want to earn as much as you can. But the problem is, as I said, these owners are not lovers of football. So they don't really care about football and what's happening on the pitch per se. They just care about, the profit and, breaking even X, Y, and Z. And that's where the conflict of interest.
I think even in the Super League, these owners, they won't care if their team finishes 10th as long as they get the money.
Yeah, as long as they get their 400 mil or whatever 15, it is.
Those 15 teams that will never get relegated or removed from it, as long as they get the money, they don't care.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And so you lose, and then football's all about competition. So then you lose that edge of competition as well, because look, if my owner doesn't care where we finish, that means really and truly there's got to be no incentives. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Then you see that the competition will dower down, and football is about competition.
But
You
AJ,
know,
yeah,
and the reason why I say
yeah,
that,
like, don't you think, yeah, you're saying the competition level will be less, yeah. But see, for example, the Premier League, yeah, the Premier League hasn't been competitive, you know. People are happy to finish, you know, fourth. I'm not talking about a team like West Ham, and I'm talking about like the big six. Some of them will be happy to finish second, third, fourth. As long as they make the top four, they'll be happy. But the Super League, yeah, you can't be satisfied to get second or third place because you're not going like you're not going to qualify for anything else. So don't you think, yeah, you winning it will bring more competition instead of settling down for second, going to games looking for draws, looking stuff like that. Like, don't you think that will bring more seriousness into the league?
not really, Zeno, because it's the same.
Having one winner, not be happy with. Oh, I finished. My team finished second. I finished.
Nah, because
you know what I'm saying,
nah, Zeno, because at the end of the day, yeah, if you're one of those big clubs in the Super League, yeah, it comes to a point where you're just thinking, well, I can't get relegated. There's no top four to finish in. And also, what you got to understand is a lot of these clubs who settle for top four, they don't just settle for top four. It's because along the season, it's come to a point where mathematically it's impossible for them to win the league.
Sometimes mathematically it's still possible, but they still don't push us hard.
I don't know. Again, you know, that is subjective. Do you get me? Because if you're talking about someone like Tottenham, for example, we know that their main aim this year was to finish in fourth spot. But you can't go against their ambition of them trying to win the league because at Christmas, they were top of the league. So yeah, do you see still, that?
No, I get like a team like a team like Man United, yeah. But let's take example. Let's bring the top 10 Premier League teams here, and let's think in our head, yeah. That's the Super League. At the moment, Man City are 12, 11 points ahead of Man United. Yeah. In the Super League, you wouldn't be talking about top four, who's going to finish where. You're going to talk about how Man United and the teams below gonna catch Man City. That's all you're gonna be talking about. You ain't gonna be talking about
but then talking about who's gonna finish in the top four. But then talking about who's gonna finish top four is equally as exciting for me because we can sit here right now and we can talk about 6-7 teams who can finish in the top four. Okay, let's put Man City aside. We can talk about 6 teams that can still finish in the top four. For me, that's still exciting. For me, that's still exciting
because you know they're going to go to the Champions League. But in the Super League, when you finish top, you ain't going nowhere. You're just standing where you are.
Yeah, and for me, that's dead.
Nah, man. I think
because
Zeno,
let me tell you something.
Closer.
Zeno, let me tell you something. Because if by Christmas, let's say Real Madrid are top by like 15 points, I'm not watching that league again.
But let's be honest.
Do you know why?
Because that gonna happen though.
And that's
it's football.
Because think about it, Champions League, you have the knockout phase where you win or go home. In this league, if after 10 or so games, you're not going to win the thing, what's the point?
No, but I don't think it's based on league. I think it's more like, I think when I was reading yesterday, it was saying it will be 2 group of 10.
10, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, 2 groups. So obviously, maybe the first 4 will qualify into the playoff, and then it's going to be like, you know, how the Champions League used to be. And then you got your quarterfinals, and so you're going to have a winner. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be more like the NBA, you know? So the most win you're going to have like the first seed, second seed, and the first seed. And obviously, that maybe the top 5 or the top 4 of each seed obviously will go into the next stage. So it's not going to be
ruining football.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not ruining it though, because you're not going to be happy with you just
because Zeno, it's the same as the top 4 in each league finishing top 4 and being put in the Champions League. The only difference is that you're not all put into a group stage. Do you get it?
Yeah, no, but that's what Perez wants. He knows that the way the Champions League is at the moment, it's not as exciting. So that's why he's bringing this new idea of the Super League, so he can remove the Champions League and still have some of the Champions League structure into the Super League. You know what I'm trying to say?
Look,
that's what they're doing. Okay, Champions League and the European Cup.
Basically, yeah, that's what
mixing it together.
But then, okay, cool. I hear that it might not be as exciting, you know. But guys, come on. Like, for me, because the reason why we're saying it might not be exciting is because we're not in the shoes of a fan of Ludogorets, for example, who qualify for the first time in the Champions League for like ever, and they get to play against the best. Also, we know about underdog stories in the Champions League. We've seen teams come out of nowhere and beat some top teams. So that's the excitement there, you know. And unless you're a fan of, you know, a so-called lesser club, yeah, you will never understand how it feels to see your team progress, get into Champions League and play against some of the best teams in the world. Even if they do get slapped up, it's about the experience. It's about that. It's about, you know, beating the odds. It's about even getting on that stage. It's about so much more. So, yeah, it's not, of course, it's not black and white. It's not black and white.
I understand what you're saying, AJ, yeah, but we still need to think about, you know, the first plan that the Super League had here. Their plan was not to leave the domestic league. You know what I'm saying? They still want that structure to be in place. They still want everything they were doing before to be in place. But the only problem, the only company that was gonna lose out was UEFA. So when UEFA was by themselves, FIFA and then the FA or the Premier League and then the FA from La Liga and Serie A, they all decided to go behind UEFA and supporting them. You know what I'm saying? So if FIFA decided, oh, that's not my problem, and the Premier League FA would have been like, yeah, that's not my problem. UEFA would have been by themselves and would have been done. But the fact that now UEFA, the FIFA getting involved, FA are getting involved is making it even bigger than it is. You know what I'm trying to say?
I just think these owners just feel entitled because they think they see the last, 16 or last 8 of the Champions League. There are teams like maybe Porto in there or whatnot. Some teams that are not as fancied in the last few knockout stages of the Champions League. I think we're the clubs that make the most money. We feel entitled to be in a league of our own where there's no surprises. These are the big teams in Europe, and whoever wins Europe's top competition is going to be the big teams. It's not going to be Porto who did it in 2004. Those kind of things can't happen because these owners just feel that they're entitled to success, which is, against the very basis of sport. It's not about entitlement, it's about competition and, doing the best you can to be the best.
No, I agree. But don't you think, I think there was a period, after Chelsea won the Champions League, from that period onwards, there was a period where English team would not make it to the semi-finals onwards. So I thought that was going to come in place during that time, the Super League, to invite more English team into the. So I thought it was going to, but obviously since then, we've seen Liverpool obviously winning and going to the final twice in a row. And so them doing it now, I think it's kind of the wrong time because now I think the only country that is struggling at the moment in getting those positions is the Italian teams. Yeah, those are the only country because Bayern are always there. PSG were always there, but Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan were even qualifying for the Champions League. So I feel like it's kind of doing it at the wrong time, but I still understand why they're doing it now. Before we go on to the next topic, I would like to introduce a new guest, Michael Dancer. Dancer, you okay?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So obviously you've been here throughout the whole conversation. So we would like to hear your thoughts on what you picked up, on what you agreed or what you disagreed. Because I know you had a lot to say in the comments, so we want you to share it out.
So the one point I picked up on was you wanted to discuss like the positives of the Super League. In my personal opinion, the whole idea is preposterous of trying to invent a new league where no one else is invited apart from the top teams. Now, what that's doing is stopping people like me and you who haven't got that much money and are, I won't say struggling, but are, part of the grassroots football system. It reduces our opportunity to get to those places. Now, the Premier League is set up so that the big teams in the top 6, they provide a lot of money for the rest of the league. Now, if the top 6 are no longer in that Premier League, the rest of the Premier League won't be able to survive. And in my personal opinion, that's just not fair. Also, these big teams, they have a lot of history in the Premier League. Like, I'm a Man United supporter. I don't feel like I can now support my club again because where's all the history going to? We've been bought out by these owners that know nothing about the club, care nothing about the club, care nothing about the fans, and they're just going off to do their own thing. Like they've just taken the club away from the people.
But you're saying the owner doesn't care about your club or your history, yeah. But you're the same people. You're the same people that when your owner does buy a superstar, then you go around saying, yeah, look, blah, 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 you boast about it. So it's kind of you're being hypocrite in terms of you don't like it when they do certain stuff, but when they do the stuff you like or what you want your club to be the best in the world, then you go around and be like, oh, look, we've got Pogba, oh, we've got this, now we can buy this. So it's kind of, you kind of have to pick a side. It's either you don't like it or you do like it. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, but that's totally different. Buying a player for the sake of winning the Premier League, like winning the Premier League is what everything, like supporting the club is all about. Do you understand? Like, so when they're doing stuff to win that competition, then of course I'm gonna love them for it. But when they're trying to take themselves out of a situation, like they brought Man United in debt, we're still in debt. They're not doing any benefit for us. Do you understand?
I get it, yeah.
So if you're now trying to take us into a new system, like why do that? I don't understand. Why do that? The only thing I can think of is for their own benefit. There was a stat, as soon as Man United entered into the Super League, the share price of Man United went up by 5%.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
yeah.
In my opinion, that's all they're looking at. They don't care about the rest of everything else. Like we have people like Sir Bobby Charlton, who was in the Munich air crash. How do you think he's gonna feel about this?
He's not gonna be happy, of course.
Man, he's supported Man United his whole life.
So Michael, yeah. So if yeah, I asked the question earlier on to Will and AJ, yeah. So if the Premier League, if the Big Six are still in the Premier League, playing in the Premier League and doing the domestic league, yeah, and still in the Super League, would you like that or would you not like that?
As long as we're in the Premier League, I think the Super League can be a good idea if it's done that way. Because obviously Florentino Perez, because the Champions League is not set out that all big teams play each other. And he wants more big teams to play each other, which is understandable. But if UEFA and these the owners of Super League can't work together, that's not going to happen. But like referring back to your question, if that was to happen, then yes, I could consider it. Because obviously the structure of the Champions League is not fit to everybody. I understand that. But also the Champions League does have a lot of history as well. So if the Super League could have been done pre-season, made it a pre-season tournament, introduce it that way. Don't just throw it at the people. Propose it for 2022, propose it for 2021. That's a very big change.
Let me go back to Will. Will, Dan Saw had a lot to say. Do you agree with what he had to say or no?
I think his last point actually about making it a pre-season, making it sort of a pre-season tournament, sort of trialing and piloting that for maybe a few years, and then making it into a full proposal would have been a better way to go, rather than them just doing this immediate thing straight away. We leave in UEFA, we're going to start off our own league, and look at the reaction. I mean, it just tells you it's just it wasn't well thought out at all. I think, like Michael was saying, if it was maybe a pre-season tournament, they did it after a year or two or three, and fans and the media and people within football were like, actually, this is a very interesting competition. Why not have it as something alongside our main leagues and maybe a replacement for the Champions League? But just going gun-ho, withdrawing from UEFA and going straight into the Super League, I think it's not been well thought out, and the reaction, I mean, speaks for itself, to be honest.
AJ, what did you think?
Yeah, the reaction speaks for itself. Of course, Michael, that's actually a fantastic point you made there. Piloting it, having it in pre-season could have been something that could have worked, because you warmed the people to it. We see the pros and cons. We see if it's something that will be sustainable for clubs. And when I mean clubs, I mean managers, fans, and players. But here they are dropping it like a nuclear bomb and running away. Joking. It's so childish. It's actually so childish when you think about it.
It is.
Honestly.
So, what's next? You know, would you at the moment now? They're saying that obviously, as I was saying before, this is to Dan Sawyer. They might deduct points to the Premier League if the Super League were not to happen. Would you do that? Would you relegate Man United and the Big Six? How would you punish the Premier League teams if they were not to go to the Super League?
The only way you can hit Premier League teams is by funding.
Mm-hmm.
So I say whatever the differences are between the teams, just give the Big Six a lot less, give them a pay cut for what they've done, because that will affect the owners that tried to put them in the Super League in the first place. So that's the only way that you can actually punish them, because think about it, you can't exactly punish the players because they don't have any authority over what happened. So the only way you can punish those big teams is financially. I think taking them out of the Premier League, that will still ruin the league as it is, because who we then going to enter into the Champions League for next season? The English clubs won't be able to do anything apart from get knocked out. So financially, that's how you hit the big clubs if this proposal doesn't help.
No, that makes sense. Thank you for your thoughts. So I'm going to go to AJ. Yeah, so AJ, what I wanted to ask you, is how would you feel if, obviously, I think the other 14 teams from the Premier League are having a meeting today. They probably had it already, but I'm not sure. So how would you feel if you're a team like West Ham? You know, since September, you know, you've worked hard, you tried to get into the top four. You are in the top four at the moment. There might not be a Champions League this next year. How would you feel if you were them? Like, what could you even do? I feel like some of these teams, like West Ham and the other 4 teams, they don't have enough power. Even if they come together, I don't think like they can still do much.
Like, I think before I came on, I saw that the 14 clubs had met and they vigorously condemned, you know, the Super League and the idea of it even being put together. Look, Afra mentioned it at the start of the show. The top 6, I called it the top 5 because of obvious reasons, yeah? What they bring to the Premier League in terms of revenue, in terms of global market, the 14 clubs put together probably wouldn't even scratch the surface with what those teams bring. And that's just down to, you know, the teams have done the work to do that. You know, their history speaks for itself. You know, in there, you've got Champions League, you've got the treble, you've got the unbeaten, like so much history, which is rich, you know. And you look across the continent, these teams are so well supported. Even in certain countries, these teams are supported more than teams that are in those countries. Even in Asia, the Asian continent, you know, you see how much Man United are loved, Arsenal are loved, you know. So no disrespect to the other 14 clubs, they, in terms of finance and what they bring to the league, it's not that much. But then on the pitch, what they bring is making games competitive. You know, we look at West Ham this season, you know, if we sat down at the start of the season and said, who would be in the top 4 in April? Nobody would have ever dreamed of saying Leicester or West Ham.
True.
But this is testament to the work that they've put in, the investment that they've put in, and you know, it's testament to the managers, the players, and owners who care about football, you know. And for them, you know, this is a big kick in the teeth, you know, for them to wake up and see this. It's kind of like, you know, for them personally, if I'm a player at that club, I'm a manager, I'm an owner, it's the highest level of disrespect.
No, 100%.
Do you know 100%. What I mean?
So, no, that's true. Especially, you know, players like even like Lingard, you know, you get them move on loan, you help them, you know, as much as you can, you know, score. And
like then there's no Champions League.
And so you're just basically doing all this for no reason.
Bro, so for example, let's look at Leicester, for example. A player like James Justin, who unfortunately season has ended because of ACL. He came from Luton for a couple mil, yeah? He's played an amazing part in Leicester's season, a right back playing left back, young English talent. He probably had dreams of playing in the Champions League. And he's probably, you know, this is his first season in the Premier League and he might achieve that, you know, and then suddenly that's going to be ripped away from him because of people are being money hungry and power greedy. That's absurd. That is absurd, honestly. And they need to do whatever they can to ensure that this doesn't go ahead.
That's true. So now we're entering the last phase of this lovely conversation, where or what I would say is people like Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and Rio, they have a lot to say. But do you think, them speaking out, is it because now BT are going to lose money? Obviously, because if the big six leave and you're showing Fulham and West Brom, you're showing Southampton, Leicester, you won't get as much money, you won't get as much view. So do you think these guys were doing it because they knew that if the big six leave, they're gonna lose money, or do you think they actually care? Will, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think if it was any other pundits, then I would side with that last point. But I think the very fact that someone like Gary Neville came up through the youth system at Manchester United, played for them for about 18 years, won so many trophies, won the treble, won doubles, won several Premier Leagues. Jamie Carragher again, grew up in Liverpool, played for Liverpool, won the Champions League with Liverpool. I think because, and especially, him, Gary Neville being a Mancunian, Carragher being from Liverpool as well. I think these guys are so passionate about their teams and about football, and the fact that they're great clubs. These are the two greatest clubs in English football, have decided to turn their back on the rest of English football and go off alone with their other 4 Premier League clubs. I think they're coming from a real place of passion, and they really do care about the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, because what I was hearing is that the Super League might be like, how Netflix is, it's like just Netflix, so you just have to subscribe to whatever company, they're going to create, and then you're going to be watching football through there. So that means Sky won't broadcast any of their games, BT won't do that either. So I feel, for me personally, I feel like it's more like 60-40, like 60 towards them losing money, losing viewers, and losing clout, should I say, and 40 was more of, they still won the Champions League, they still want the Premier League to be in place. So Gary Neville was making good points, same as Rio called it the football war. Gary Neville said it's a crime, it's an act of crime. Carragher called them the Sixth Mafia. So it did hurt them. By the same time, they were thinking about their pockets as well. AJ, what are your thoughts?
I think because of their rich history, look, those guys that we're talking about, it's football that they've known their whole lives. Whether it's playing, management, punditry, and to see what those guys have given to English football, and also what English football has given to them, I think they're just speaking from a place of hurt, as being genuine football lovers. Of course, look, with those guys, we talk about, you mentioned they might lose their jobs at Sky and BT, that because of the levels of what they achieved in the game and what they've done, in punditry, they'll always have a job somewhere, whether it's through podcasting, whether it's through going to ESPN, another channel, they'll always have a job. So for me, I'd probably say it's more 100% in terms of that they love football, and 0% in terms of their job and their money, because I think they'll always have a job. They can easily go into coaching as well and earn money there. I just think from what English football has given them and what they have given it, and football in general, I think it's just from a place of hurt. I'm surprised Gary Neville didn't even say it's an act of terror, but yeah, because he's been so passionate about it, and it's not just them. I think Danny Murphy spoke about it the other day on Match of the Day. Michael Richards has chimed in, so these are players who've played the game and they know what the game means to them, and fans, and these are still ex-pros who are also fans of the teams that they played for. So it will hurt, 100%, man.
No, as I said, it's 60-40, but couple of weeks, we'll obviously find out more information. New information will come out. Obviously, I'm gonna give you the last chance to speak today. Summarize, everything that you want to say. Will, what we'll ask you, if there's a fan out there that is in power for the Super League, what would you say to him? Imagine if there's a guy out there like me who wants it to happen, who can't wait to happen. What would you say to him?
It's a big question. I mean, I think if we look look back at the history of football, I mentioned earlier on Porto winning the Champions League, winning the European Cup, or Leicester winning, the Premier League. Looking at the way this season has panned out, that a club like West Ham, who, last game of the season was fighting for relegation, now could potentially be playing in the Champions League. If you're a fan of football and you care about young people out there on the streets, on the football fields, playing football, think about this as a closed shop. From now until, I don't know, the end, well, from now until the next, 20 years or so, if the Super League comes into fruition, I mean, we're only going to be talking about the same clubs. There's not going to be any surprises, any shocks, no, stories that, we never saw coming. And so I think as the reaction intensifies, as the pressure gets piled on, I think a few of these clubs, especially the English clubs, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of them decided to, pull out, and then I think the whole thing would end up collapsing like dominoes, in my opinion. So I'll just say watch this space, and it's going to be a very interesting next few days for sure.
That's good. AJ, you got the last word?
Yeah, guys, look, it is an amazing bombshell that they've dropped on us. Amazing in the fact that what they're trying to do, the effect it's having on managers and players and fans who make up football, let's be honest, and also it's amazing because the amounts of money and figures that are being, thrown around, so it shows that in this life, money talks, but for the love of football, this cannot go ahead, because if it does, the longevity and the history of football will actually succumb to this. So, of course, in the next few weeks, because of course the Euros are so close, there will definitely be developments. And, I think we've all seen the supporters' trust that so many clubs come out and speak, and the fact is every single football fan who knows football, who's played football, who is playing football, and who wants football to survive, is hurt by this. And that says a lot. And the fact that managers, fans and players have not been consulted also kind of gives you an inclination into who's running football at the top level at clubs and why those type of people shouldn't be doing what they're doing in terms of running clubs. And fans should have more power in owning clubs. So that's me, man.
And I was just saying that clubs could pull out. Breaking news, the BBC's Dan Rowan says that he understands that Chelsea are now preparing documentation to request withdrawing from the European Super League. So
wow.
Abramovich, he's got money though, so I don't even understand why Chelsea were even involved in the first place. He has that money on tap.
I think this thing is going to fall apart.
It will, because I don't think, do you know what it is? Like you said before, sorry, Shadrach.
No, bro, go on.
But we mentioned it before. I don't think a lot of clubs deeped the backlash.
No.
I don't think they deeped it, because this is not a joke. You've got people coming out left, right, and center. You've got guys who have solidified their legacy in football coming out and condemning it. Like it's not easy for this backlash. Fans, I think Liverpool's game yesterday against Leeds, fans were protesting outside in COVID. Deep it.
Listen, yeah, to be honest, I cannot end this, this conversation by the way Andrew was speaking. I have to end it, Listen, if there's any football fans out there who like the Super League, just sit back. It's gonna happen, all these people,
no
chance. All these people that are saying they don't like it, they're not in for it. Listen, these will be the same people that you will see them in the front row. They will buy tickets, t-shirts. Listen, for the next 15 to 20 years, this will be the biggest event in the world. Every year, you will see the best going against the best. So, for those who are not in for it, the train is running. So please jump on before it's too late.
When there's only a few people on that train, Zena.
Listen,
trust me.
But that's how things starts. That's how things start. There'll be few people. By the time he goes and he flies, you will see people coming out of nowhere. People coming out the toilet seat. People coming out there everywhere. And then you turn around and the train will be full. So that's how life is. You start small. At the end, will be big. So as I said, for any fans that are out there that want it to happen, just sit back, relax. Do not argue too much, because we don't have power. We can't change it ourselves. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So I would like to thank, Will and AJ for coming on. It's been a great conversation. I think, I hope we have, my privilege. I think I've educated a lot of people here. Obviously we gave our opinion. As I said, there will be new information coming out on a daily basis from now till the end of the summer. We just have to hope that, we might have to do another one once it's official. So once we know what rules and regulations have been in place, then obviously we'll have you back on again. I would like to thank, Kofi for giving me the opportunity to host today. And thank you for everyone who has been watching today. Please, as I said, subscribe, like, share our channel, iGimel TV. If you can subscribe to the From Free podcast. They are on Spotify and Apple Music. So thank you for those who tune in. We'll see you again very soon. Thank you.